If Matt Murdock cannot bring his oldest and most hated foe, the Kingpin, to justice, then Hell's Kitchen is about to get turned inside out. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Daredevil issue number 25, the big finale to this solid in a mid-series, and find out what happens next together, shall we? So then, picking up directly from where the last issue left off, Daredevil and Elektra were hard at work trying to track down Wilson Fisk's whereabouts. You'll remember that Wilson had fled New York after he was possessed by the demon of greed. Daredevil managed to excise that demon, and for a time there it seemed to actually kickstart some sort of religious awakening in the Kingpin, only now he's back in New York City. And his particular old-time religion is a lot less pass the collection plate and attend the pancake supper and a lot more flaming swords and turning people into salt. He whacked a bunch of New Age French criminals trying to make inroads into America, and even these low-level stick-up hoods that Daredevil and Elektra are dealing with are quite frankly terrified of the Kingpin's second coming, thinking that it's only a matter of time before he tries to get back all of his old lost territory in the kitchen. Thankfully, our two Daredevils don't have to wait too long to find out where Kingpin is hiding, as they end up hearing word of a large man who looks like the former mayor tearing up the Sacred Hearts Church. Matt and Elektra show up in just enough time to see a priest end up going flying through the window. Thankfully, there is a helpful off-duty paramedic nearby to render aid. Why haven't the cops showed up, you might be wondering? Well, apparently being the former feared supervillain gangster mayor of New York actually ends up getting you quite the wide berth from law enforcement. By the time Daredevil makes it inside, Kingpin has trashed the entire place. He's also sitting there drinking directly from the communal wine. You would think this sort of clear and present blasphemy would really upset Daredevil, but quite the opposite. He makes a wry comment saying, "Geez, what are you, a Catholic school delinquent?" And I mean, Matt would know, right? What's he gonna do for an encore? Stick some gum under the pews? Fisk responds by saying that he only wanted to set the proper stage for his grand homecoming and his grand reunion with two of the probably most important people in his life when you really stop and think about it. Of course, the burning question on everyone's mind, both our heroes in the story and us as the reader, is why exactly is the Kingpin doing all of this stuff? And his answer is, well, quite in depth. Surprisingly enough, Kingpin actually starts by thanking Daredevil for introducing him to God, to opening his eyes to a higher power, even in a world when the likes of Thor walk among mortal men. Kingpin never really thought himself the believing type, but when that evil spirit left his body, it all changed. He prostrated himself, got on his knees, and decided that day to get really familiar with the Lord, and indeed he did. He left New York and decided to train all over the world with holy men, zealots, and paladins, and well, he's come back packing quite a few interesting new tricks. I feel like that would have been a really interesting story to see, but sadly this is the last issue, so it looks like that ain't happening. Elektra points out the very clear hypocrisy in everything that Kingpin is saying right now. He's talking of crusades and the power of the Almighty, yet in reality all he's really done is put a brand new coat of paint on the same old gang war turf grabs he's always done. And you know what? Wilson agrees. Because you see, just learning to believe in God was only the beginning for the Kingpin. When he wants something, he's not afraid of taking it, and as that stands right now, that also includes godhood. I mean, hey, why live your entire life in fear of the Almighty when you can just simply become the Almighty yourself? Now that might just sound like regular old delusional ramblings of a supervillain, but Daredevil, with his ability to tell if people are lying or not, is shocked to realize the Kingpin is telling 100% the truth right now. That is what he wants. And I mean, really, when we break it down, what were the Crusades if not just turf wars on a giant global scale? Eventually, Wilson tires of fighting with Daredevil and Elektra and decides to take his leave. He picked up a fancy new doodad on his travels that is able to incapacitate both our heroes, giving him all the time he needs to make his leave. Yeah, I know, it's a little disappointing that Kingpin just shows up, explains his motivation, and then leaves with little resolution, but don't worry, you can follow his adventures and continued character growth over in the Punisher book. By the time Matt and Elektra eventually end up regaining control of their bodies, they're feeling pretty damn low and defeated right now, but they swear that they're not going to let this go, and they're going to follow Fisk to the end of the earth. Elektra shows some concern for Matt. She knows that he's been burning the candles at both both ends recently. He hasn't eaten recently, and oh yeah, did we mention he also just became homeless? Matt is truly touched, especially considering everything that they've been through recently, that Elektra still cares so deeply for him. Furthermore, well, from the outside looking in, it might have looked like all Daredevil really wanted to do was to get his hands on Fisk and deliver some brutal justice, but in reality, Matt says all he really wanted to do was reconcile with his tragic love Elektra and go back to the way things were. And yeah, it's on that note right there, this issue and indeed this series ends up coming to a close with Matt and Elektra vowing to give it yet another try for the upteenth time. And so that was Daredevil issue number 25, everybody, and honestly I'm a little conflicted on this one. On one hand, they really couldn't do a lot with this final issue. It truly feels more like the kickoff to a brand new story arc than it does feel like the finale for the whole book, but I get the feeling the creative team was kind of blindsided by the cancellation of this one, which is a shame. For all the highs and lows, I actually really do enjoy Saladin Ahmed's take on Daredevil, and I think history will ultimately be kind to this run. I think the whole Seven Sins saga will read a lot better in trade when people can actually really sit down and appreciate it all in one go. And for what it's worth, this series did at least have symmetry. This all started with Daredevil and Elektra breaking up, and it ended with them coming back together again. At the time of recording, at the end of September, beginning of October, there is no word on a new creative team or direction for the Daredevil book, though I get the distinct feeling we'll have something by March of next year, as that is the supposed time frame of Born Again Season 2, assuming that that one doesn't end up getting moved around. Some writers I would personally like to see maybe take a crack at Daredevil: David Pepose, Jim Zub. Hell, crazy rumors out there I'm hearing is that Brian Michael Bendis might actually be jumping back to Marvel very soon, and with New York Comic Con in October, that would be a hell of a time to also announce a big showy return to the Man Without Fear. Overall, though, I would give this finale a 7 out of 10. It's not everything I wanted, but it didn't leave me with a bad taste in my mouth, and I appreciate the effort, and I appreciate the run as a whole. It could not have been easy following Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil run, which will go down as one of the great modern classics. But for what it's worth, I think this Saladin Ahmed series does more than enough to earn its own place in the great Daredevil pantheon. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched at the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow, and help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye bye.